Gamers, stop slacking off and learn how to be the best gamer you can be by getting all the latest reviews and previews. Gamehead starts now, part of Spike's Video Game Awards weekend.
There's a reason Spike celebrates video games each year. Which game deserves to win a Vector Monkey? Tonight, the debate begins. Could a single game win 10 awards? Which game could send an upset throughout the industry? And what does our panel really want to see win Game of the Year? Find out now on Gamehead's 2006 Video Game Award Insider Guide. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Gamehead 2006 Spike Video Game Award Insider Guide. I'm Jeff Keighley, and for the next hour, we'll take a look at what could happen on stage when Spike celebrates the best games of 2006. Tonight, I'm joined by my fellow Spike VGA Advisory Council member and editorial director of One Up Network, John Davison, and Kudo Sonoda, who's the executive producer and general manager of EA Chicago, the studio responsible for giving us such great titles as Fight Night Round 3 and the upcoming Def Jam Icon. Kudo, you're also nominated for Fight Night Round 3, so congrats.
Hey, thanks. Best individual sports game. Still kind of surprised it wasn't nominated for Game of the Year, but, you know, maybe we can talk about that later.
John, do they deserve to win, or?
Him?
Yeah.
You kidding?
All right. We'll see you later. They're already getting into it, but let's get right into our first nominee category. Although some game designers are on the never-ending quest to create original games, more and more video game adaptations of the big and small screen get released every year. All right, let's take a look at the nominees for Best Game based on a movie or TV show. How you doing? Thank you, sir. More than one way to share your family. Not so fast, person. All right, guys, we've got 5 nominees in this category. But this is a much maligned category sometimes at the VGAs, because a lot of hardcore gamers say, movie, TV games, they always suck. Is that the case, or there's some games this year that kind of bunk that trend?
I'm really surprised how popular Scarface has been. It's like the biggest game in America right now or something. Or it was the week it came out. It was a huge game. And I mean, let's be honest, it's just a GTA knockoff, really, and it's...
Yeah, but, people love the movie, and that's, part of the appeal of these games is that, you're reliving these, great franchises that you love.
You're not really reliving it with Scarface, though.
You're reliving after what happened, right?
So he dies at the end of the movie and somehow comes back to life into a Vice City knockoff. So, I don't know. People seem to go for it, though.
I mean, I thought, for me, Godfather, I think, tried to at least innovate in the genre a little bit with, black hand control and being able to beat guys up in different ways. Mm-hmm. But, it's such an old movie, and it's like I think sometimes people want, more recent media.
I was surprised that they made the choice to do that, because when you think of the people that play games, there's a lot of people that love games that don't feel the same way about the Godfather movies as those of us that are a bit older do, So I thought it was interesting in that, you can't really rely on that IP to get everyone that can buy an M-rated game to be, because on the lower end, they're like, okay, Godfather, I've never seen it, what the hell? I mean, it might make you go watch the movie, which is an interesting way for a game to push something.
I think, that was the good thing about Godfather, right? You understand it's an older movie. The characters are somewhat timeless, and once you introduce them to people, I think people get interested in them. But they really did try and do something different and new with the gameplay, and I thought that was the cool part of what Godfather was doing. You have the timeless character matched with, like, kind of a new control mechanic, a new way to play the game that, sucks the people in just by playing the game and then turns them on to the Godfather if they weren't already, like, big fans of the movie.
Thank you very much. You're very kind. Very quickly.
Lego Star Wars is doing something completely different with Star Wars for a change. It's not, let's do Boba Fett's storyline or this backstory or whatever. It's like, okay, let's take, Lego and Star Wars and do something different with it, and it was really cute.
It's fun, exactly. Yeah. It looks like a kid's game, and when you play it, it's simple, and you can play through it in like 6 or 8 hours, but it's like, it's a fun experience, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Family Guy is also in there as a TV game. Now, I love the show. Played the game, not the biggest fan of what they did with the gameplay. I mean, it's great to have, Stewie and all the voices in there, but what was your take on that, John? I mean, I was kind of it felt to me like an Xbox Live Arcade game more than a real full-fledged, product.
Yeah, I mean, it was really just a bunch of mini games, but I mean, if anything saved it, it was the voice work.
Hey, want to play doctor?
And it's kind of interesting if you play it on the PSP. it kind of changes the experience a little bit because
it's the same game.
It's the same game,
yeah.
and it lends itself more to a sort of dip into it handheld game than sitting in front of a console because you feel a bit, you know, gypped by it when you're like, okay. So it's Seth MacFarlane doing a bunch of voices, and I paid $20 for that. Great.
Well, now it's time for you guys to give us your selection for what you think is going to win in this category. Kudo, let's kick it off with you.
Yeah, I think if you look at what is the best straight adaptation of a movie, it would be Godfather, but just based on what I had the most fun playing, I go with the Lego Star Wars trilogy.
Star Wars. All right, John, what's your pick?
I think Scarface is going to win because so many people bought it, but I'm with him. I think Lego Star Wars should get it.
I sort of have to agree with you guys. I think, you know, Scarface might actually win because it's so popular and so many people love the movie. And if you're voting just based on, you know, your favorite movie, you're going to pick Scarface. But I think Lego Star Wars 2 is actually the one that should win because it was unexpected, but it's, you know, a lot of fun. Throughout the night, we're going to go over the nominees for Game of the Year. And our first nominee is a multi-platform action RPG that has garnered critical acclaim and is one of the best-selling games of the year. Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion is the most nominated game of this year's VGAs, earning, any guesses, guys? How many nominees?
10.
10. Wow, Kudo, you're good. All right, so 10 nominations for Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, which is a game that came out earlier this year. So obviously, you know, very memorable. John, why is this game receiving that many nominations? Because this is a pretty hardcore game. I mean, this is, you know, an epic RPG. Why do you think gamers love it so much?
I mean, just speaking from my perspective, I played this game more than any game I've played in years. I sunk so many hours into it. And I think a lot of it is that it just offers so much for you to do. I think you look at some of the reasons why people get into a game like World of Warcraft, the variety, and there's lots of little stories and narratives going on. And this brought that into an experience that was a little less sort of like, you know, you're not out there with strangers, you're just there in your own little world, and side quests and battles, and it looked gorgeous. And it was like the first game on 360 that really made you feel good about owning one. I think that's a big deal as well.
What about you, Kudo? What do you think the appeal of is this? Because it's sort of the polar opposite of some of the fighting games you guys do, which is instant gratification.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, I'm not that big a fan of the RPG genre in general, but I just thought that game did an awesome job of, you know, making it easy to get into and making it easy to start playing. And then, like, again, there is so much depth and things to do, but like just that barrier of like getting it in and hooking you was much less than like other RPGs that I've seen before. So it's just like, it was easy for me to get in and start playing. And then, you know, like John was saying, you just get sucked in on, you know, all the endless things that you're able to do. Obviously extraordinarily high production values. But at the end of the day, I mean, again, I'm not an RPG fan whatsoever, but I just had a great time playing that game. So.
Right.
But the way it sort of leads you by the hand through these quests, it's not just throwing this like huge quest and say, go do it. It's like, okay, do this, and it takes you in these little steps through the whole thing. And then suddenly you're hooked and you realize you've been playing for hours. And I think it's the way that it did that's really changed this genre. And I think it is pulling people in and making them think, well, maybe now I'll try something that's a little more hardcore.
All right, still to come on the Gamehead 2006 VGA Insider Guide. We're going to take a look at the nominees for Best Team Sports Game, and also Gears of War, which is a nominee, of course, for Game of the Year. And also Need for Speed star Emmanuel Vaugier will join us to talk about her nomination. That's all coming up next.
That motherfucker.
Say the word so lame.
There's nothing wrong with the way I say motherfucker.
Say it second best.
You're gonna be second best on December 13th. I got the toughest, baddest fighters in the world ready to roll that night.
We got all that. And lasers.
You got lasers?
Yeah, you right. That's how you say the word,
On Wednesday, Spike will give you two of the baddest television events of the year, back-to-back. First, it's UFC Fight Night Live, followed by Spike's 2006 Video Game Awards, hosted by Samuel L. Jackson.
Ode to the Fight. Call now. 1
Stores and online now. Ride the ridiculously long-lasting gum.
This is Lara Croft from Tomb Raider Legend, and I'm here to give you the list of nominees for the 2006 Spike Video Game Awards for Cyber Vixen of the Year. And the nominees are Alex Vance from Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Jen from Prey, Princess Peach from the new Super Mario Bros., Enrica from Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Double Agent, and yours truly, Lara Croft from Tomb Raider Legend. I hope you all voted for me and see you at the VGAs.
Hey, welcome back to Gamehead's VGA Insider Guide. We're here looking at the nominees for the 2006 Spike Video Game Awards. I'm your host, Jeff Keighley, and joining me again are my distinguished guests, EA Chicago's Kudo Sonoda and editorial director of 1UP Network, John Davison. Now, sports games have been around since the creation of the video game console. From Tecmo Bowl to Madden NFL 07, the graphics have gotten better, their stats have become more plentiful, and arguably the gameplay has improved. Let's take a look at this year's nominees for Best Team Sports Game. All right, the hotly contested Best Team Sports Game category, and Kudo, you're not just going to be an EA fanboy here, right?
Me, why would I ever do something like that?
But you guys, you know, EA's got a lot of nominations, as they do every year. Last year, Madden NFL 06 won in this category, but it was panned, you know, John knows. A lot of the critics panned it on the Xbox 360 for not being, you know, not having enough depth. Did it deserve the win last year, John?
Not based on the 360 version, no.
Right.
I mean, the last couple of years we've seen that the PS2 version's been great, you know, and I think the guys all agree that it's great there, but the next-gen version just hasn't cut it.
Well, let's talk about Madden, you know, NFL 07, which of course is nominated, vastly improved on the Xbox 360, out for the PlayStation 3 as well. You think it deserves the win this year, John?
No.
Why not?
Again, it's gimped based on the other versions. I mean, they're still not delivering on the whole experience.
I mean, I think Madden has huge upgrades this year. You know, it looks great on the 360. Got a bunch of new features in. You know, really like kind of the lead blocking aspect of the game, which gives you a lot more detail. Their superstar mode, I think, is really fun to play. And so, you know, I think it definitely holds its own against any of the other
like the fatigue meter's not working on 360. I mean, there were some problems. Now, what's interesting is that 2K games, you know, a couple years ago they started doing these sports games. Everyone was like, why even bothering going up against EA? You know, they own this market. Now we got, you know, NBA 2K7, which is out on Xbox 360, PS3, which, you know, everyone's saying is a great game. EA, you know, NBA Live 07 was canceled for PlayStation 3 and, you know, kind of universally panned on the Xbox 360. So is 2K sort of one-upping you guys this year?
I don't think 2K is one-upping EA necessarily in their sports games. I just think like what 2K does, I mean, much like EA, you know, we put like some of our really best development teams on the sports games. And if you look at when sports games get made, lots of the, you know, developers don't put their premium teams on the sports games. And so I just think like that's something EA does as a whole, you know, it's get the best developers on the, like their sports products, you know, and then also, I mean, it seems like 2K just takes a, you know, hey, they have a focused effort on trying to do the same thing with their sports games. So, you know, I just think, again, it's just getting good development teams on the product. That's what's going to result in making good games.
So what do you think, John? Is 2K, are they proving that, you know, you can actually go up against EA and there is a choice for some sports?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the NBA game this year was fantastic. And the hockey game is great, too.
Kudo, what do you think's going to win here?
You know, I think, you know, who's going to win probably would be Madden. You know, obviously it's just the most widely popular sports game. But just if it was up to me, I'd go with NHL 07. Like, I thought they did the best job of, like, reinventing how the game is played and doing something new with it. Yeah, exactly. So, personally, I thought NHL 07, they did a great job with the product. That's
2 EA picks, so I guess your check's still going to come next week.
Yeah.
All right, John, what's your pick?
I think of the stuff that's nominated. NBA 2K7, no question.
Yeah, I would actually agree. I think that's the game, to me, I was sort of most impressed with in terms of what they did with it. And, you know, 2K has sort of been the redheaded stepchild of these sports games, and they did a great job there. But so I think that, but, you know, you never know. I think Madden may also, with the popular fan votes, that may be the one that sort of ultimately trumps, because it's, you know, one of the best-selling games of the year. Now, whoever said games based on Japanese woodblock painting would never succeed was proved dead wrong with the release of one of this year's most critically acclaimed games, Okami. Blending art, action, and epic storytelling, Okami has constantly been compared to the depth and playability of the Legend of Zelda series. Okami is nominated in 5 categories this year. Now, what's interesting about Okami, guys, is that a lot of people have been talking about how artistic this game is. And, you know, Roger Ebert earlier this year talked about how, we hope he gets better, but he talked about how he thought games weren't, you know, art. That was his whole, you know, concern, is that games, you know, can't evoke your emotions like a great piece of art can. And you look at Okami, and a lot of people would say Roger Ebert's dead wrong. What's your take, Kudo? Is this game art?
I mean, I think like if you go look at the definition of art, like art is pretty much just like an act of creation using like images and sounds and objects to kind of express the inner thoughts or imagination of the person doing the creating.
I think you memorized that definition.
Yeah, well, it's just weird that like people look at games as not art, you know? I mean, I just think every game that you make, it is like, you know, there's a team of creative people like kind of expressing themselves through the product.
And is this more artful than other games out there, John?
Oh, definitely. I mean, aside from the obvious stuff, which is the look, I mean, I think just the way that it draws you in by doing interesting things with the controls, and the message of the game is very different from a lot of things, when we're playing a wolf, and I think there's some interesting things that they're trying to do with this game, and it's clear that the team had something to say with it.
Do you guys think that this year, is this sort of comparable to one of those, you know, art films for the Oscars that sort of, you know, gets a bunch of nominations but might not necessarily win because it's not as popular as the other games? What do you think?
I mean, I think for sure, if, you know, the way the awards are getting decided is popular vote, that probably it's not going to, like, you know, win the lion's share of the awards.
Right.
But still, I mean, like you're saying, that's the big thing for me. They try to do something innovative within a gaming space, which is, you know, I'm always appreciative of. And so, you know, it's definitely one of the games that I keyed into as one of my favorite games for the year.
Right. John, you think same take?
What he said.
What he said. Kudo's a smart man, except when he's talking about Madden football, right? Coming up next on GameHead's 2006 VGA Insider Guide, we take a look at the nominees for Best Performance by a Male and Female, with special guest Need for Speed Carbon vixen Emmanuel Bourget, who's nominated in the female category. And coming up later, we make our picks for Game of the Year. Stick around. Check out the 2006 VGA online pre-show at SpikeTV.com for interviews with your favorite celebs and more, presented by Stride, the ridiculously long-lasting gum.
Winning! That motherfucker
Jackson.
The game of the year is Gears of War. Gears of War, hands down. Gears of War was one of the most impressive games I've seen on any console, period. I mean, period.
Gears of War is hands down. I played that. Best game today. It beats out PlayStation 3 games. It's just, there's nothing like it right now in the market.
Hey, welcome back to GameHead's VGA Insider Guide, celebrating all the games nominated for the 2006 Spike Video Game Awards, which air Wednesday, December 13th at 10 p.m. only on Spike. As gaming technology and production values have improved over the last decade, so has its celebrity voice talent. Hollywood has invaded the gaming arena with stars of the big and small screen lending their likenesses and voice talents to the virtual world.
That's interesting.
Now we're pleased to be joined by one of this year's nominees in the female category. Last year, she played Mia in CBS's hit comedy 2.5 Men, and now she's the voice of Nikki in EA's Need for Speed Carbon, Miss Emmanuel Bourget. Emmanuel, how are you?
I'm good.
Welcome to GameHead, and congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much.
So John and Kudo get to stay on the same couch as you. I get separated, but let's talk about some competition you have in your category, because this is a pretty big category up against, you know, you got Tia, Vita, Rosario Dawson. You think you can take down Rosario?
You know, she was the one that I'm like, I don't know, she's pretty tough. She can kick some ass, but yeah, I'm gonna take her.
So how does it feel to be nominated for a VGA? Because I mean, the talent category, you know, the male, you got, you know, Johnny Depp, Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, these are big Hollywood stars.
I know. I was looking at the list and I'm like, wow, this is quite an honor, quite flattering. So it's fun, it's exciting. It's something totally new that I've never done before. So I'm really, really excited about it. Start it up.
Now, the other nominees in this category all just lend their voice, but you actually had to, you know, do it live action, right, with the green screen, which is something that games used to do a long time ago with a lot of live action video. It kind of disappeared, but Need for Speed's bringing it back. So it's just like a regular sort of acting gig for you?
No, it's a lot more tedious. You're in this imaginary world where they're like, okay, the car's over here, and you've got this little green box. You're sitting in your imaginary car,
right.
And there's like a little stick that you pretend is the door so they can actually, you know, so that we have the right height and all that stuff. The hardest stuff I found was just the stuff straight into the camera and trying to be, you know.
Talking to your boyfriend, right?
Talking to your boyfriend.
He's right out there, right?
There he is.
Pick one. Let's get this over with.
Let's talk a bit about Need for Speed Carbon, because, you know, one of the best sort of, you know, racing franchises out there. Everybody loves it.
How dare you show your face here?
Your performance turned out well. What about the game here? John and Kudo, we got Need for Speed Carbon in the driving game category up against Burnout Revenge, which is another EA game. You've got Toka Race Driver 3 and GTR 2, which I'm not sure how got on there. I've never even played it, but Guys, what do you think in this category? How does Carbon, is Carbon going to win this category?
I think it's, yeah, either Need for Speed or Burnout are clearly the two best games in the category, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in, yeah, exactly.
Again.
Hey, you asked John, I think those ones are just head and shoulders above the other two.
I mean, it wasn't a great year for tons of racing games overall, right?
No, not at all. In fact, I mean, Burnout technically is kind of a game from last year, which is sort of the re-release on Xbox 360.
Right.
I mean, Carbon is a really good game, and we've seen it sort of every year now for, oh God, this is like the 14th Need for Speed or something.
But this is the only one that has Emmanuel.
Yeah. The others are like really nerdy gearhead games. I mean, you said you didn't know about GTR 2. It's from a European studio, and it's like a really hard, it's like,
look at you trying to be all like, you know, proper about it.
Hey, we had a setup.
Actually played this,
we
John?
had a setup at the office with the wheel and pedals, and but I don't think it has a hope in hell of winning, just because it's, you know, it's like a really hardcore simulation. And Toka's very Eurocentric. It's a great game, but it's very European.
What are you going to pick, Kudo, in this category?
You know, again, it's a toss-up, but
remember who's on the couch?
Yeah, Emmanuel's here, so I'll go for Need for Speed Carbon.
Such a softie. What about you, John? She's waiting. Whoa! We have to switch positions here. Kudo. You're a brave man, John. What about you, Emmanuel? What would you think? What do you think? I don't know. Okay, I just got to check. And yeah, I don't know, you know, I'd probably go with Need for Speed, just because Burnout, as you said, is like the same game as last year, and they didn't improve it a lot on Xbox 360. But yeah, this is not a particularly strong category, you know, of nominees. Just there weren't that many games out there this year. But it's definitely, you know, Need for Speed Carbon. It's great that it's on there. All right, well, thanks for joining us, Emmanuel. We'll look forward to seeing you at the VGAs.
Thank you.
Good luck. Hope you win.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a look at another Game of the Year nominee now, because 1 week before the VGA nomination deadline, Epic Games and Microsoft released the highly anticipated Gears of War. It's the story of Marcus Phoenix, a disgraced soldier who exits prison and is given the task to eliminate the Locust Horde on the war-torn planet of Serra. The biggest Xbox 360 game this year is nominated in 6 categories. What is it about this game, Kudo, that, you know, has everyone just loving it so much? Because it was, you know, highly anticipated, but this is one of the games that I think actually sort of lived up to the hype.
Yeah, I mean, I think just, you know, right off graphically, it's obviously a huge achievement. The game looks awesome. The one-player mode's fun. I mean, I wish the one-player mode was a little bit longer, but like the multiplayer is just, you know, really addictive and fun to play. And I think that's what'll give it the legs, is like, hey, you can go fight other people. Like, that's what I've mostly been doing once I got through the one-player game.
So we're talking about some of the other Game of the Year nominees being, you know, very innovative, like Okami. This game, you know, obviously great graphics. Do you feel like it's got enough kind of next-gen innovation to it? Because I think, you know, the cover system is cool, but there are also areas where, you know, the vehicle stuff, I was kind of disappointed. There was just sort of like one little vehicle sequence. I was hoping for more of that. And, you know, even the environments aren't that destructible or anything, like, you know, Black, which is a nominee for Best Shooter, which, you know, has a lot of crazy things going on in the environment as you shoot stuff up. What was your take on that, John? Do you feel, is that like a true next-gen game?
I think graphically it is. But for everything else, it's more of a refinement.
Right.
I mean, it's all done on a very grand scale. But it's not, I mean, I think, you know, I mean, the inevitable sequel will definitely do a lot of the more next-gen things. I mean, it uses physics, and there's, you know, the way the AI of the Locust is pretty impressive, particularly on the higher levels. I mean, they really do, they jump into cover, and they seem to be working to flank you, and your buddies aren't so bright, but the bad guys are.
But Chainsaw Guys is pretty good.
Chainsaw Guys is good. The shotgun's great. But the torque bow, that thing's amazing in multiplayer.
Got one. All right, stick around, because coming up next, we're taking a look at the nominees for the 2006 VGA Critics' Choice Award. Later, we're going to take a look at who should win the Breakthrough Technology Award. And still to come, I'm going to put my panelists on the hot seat to see what their picks are for Game of the Year.
My pick for Game of the Year definitely have to be Okami.
I would definitely have to go with Guitar Hero 2, because unlike most of the other games on the list, you can have a big blast and a fun party playing Guitar Hero 2.
My pick for the Game of the Year would be Ghost Recon. Oblivion, because I'm a computer nerd. Gears of War. Guitar Hero 2 was on that list. I saw that. Gears of War! Gears of War! Got it. Gears of War! Gears of War! Gears of War! Oblivion, Oblivion, Oblivion.
Welcome back to Gamehead's 2006 VGA Insider Guide. I'm your host, Jeff Keighley, and we've been looking at some of the fantastic games nominated for this year's Video Game Awards, which air Wednesday, December 13th at 10 p.m. right here on Spike. Now, the Critics' Choice Award is a brand new category to the Video Game Awards. It allows games that are released in stores between November 15th and the end of the year to give gamers a sneak peek of what's in store for next year's VGAs. This is the only category gamers cannot vote on for the nominees and winners because they're decided by the 2006 Video Game Awards Advisory Council, which John and I are lucky enough to be on. With all that being said, let's take a look at this year's nominees. All right, so this is the only category where we've got PS3 and Wii games nominated. John, you know, we got Zelda in there, which is huge. We've got Resistance: Fall of Man. Obviously, this year we're not going to be able to really have these games up against Xbox 360 games in the other categories, but, you know, here they can be. So how do you think PS3 and Wii are going to fare against Xbox based on these nominations?
For this award, I think there's going to be a Wii game that nails it. A game like Zelda is such a powerful thing that, you know, I think everyone just loves it. I mean, they would have to mess up really, really bad.
So out of the two, you know, Wii Sports and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Kudo, which one would you pick?
Yeah, I think clearly that would be the Zelda games, obviously, so I can't see
many people. They got Wii
people.
Sports Boxing, though. I thought you were going to be all about the Wii Sports Boxing.
Yeah, I mean...
You've been typecast.
Yeah, all I can say is, yeah, I don't know how any other boxing games are going to live up to Fight Night Round 3. So I'm sure I'm going to be going for the Zelda game.
So you got Zelda in there. We've also got, you know, a PC game in there, Medieval 2 Total War, which I didn't vote for.
Where did that come from? You sure you wrote that down right?
That's what they're saying. So obviously we don't know our advisory council numbers as well as we should, right?
Maybe it's really good. I've not played it, have you?
I haven't, no, but I know that's coming out for PC, so that's interesting. But
I'm sure this inspires confidence in everybody.
Well, we made some other good choices. I mean, but there's only really, you know, one PS3 game on here, and there are over, you know, 10 PS3 games out there right now. So, John, why do you think, I mean, only one made the list? Is Resistance sort of the one game you should buy if you get a PS3 this year? You can find one?
Yeah, I mean, like any launch, the PS3 lineup, I mean, aside from Resistance, it's not that strong.
Right.
And it really does stand out. And it doesn't just stand out as in a launch lineup. I mean, It is a good game.
Kudo, what do you think is going to win in Critics' Choice?
If I was on the Video Game Award Advisory Board, maybe go for Resistance, but I think Zelda would probably take it.
Why Resistance?
I don't know, you know, again, that's a game that I've just played a lot, and it's like, you know, I just think it's a really polished product, and it's good fun to play, and it's like, you know, I haven't had as much hands-on time with Zelda, but, you know, again, clearly, yeah, if you guys are in the voting, Zelda will probably win if I had to put my money down.
Well, what about you, John?
Zelda, definitely.
Zelda? Yeah, I mean, I sort of have to pick. I think Zelda's going to be the one in this category. Because, I mean, just that franchise is so powerful. I think in some ways, this new Zelda game is, it hasn't had kind of enough hype because, you know, people have been so focused on the Wii. It's, you know, any new Zelda game is such a major release, and everyone's talking about Gears of War and Resistance, but I mean, Zelda is, you know, the most beloved franchise out there. So, yeah, I'd be surprised if it didn't win in this category. Our next nominee for Game of the Year is a critically acclaimed title that comes from the partnership between Tom Clancy's Red Storm Entertainment and Ubisoft. Considered by some to be one of the best military strategy shooters of all time, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter is nominated in 4 categories. Well, guys, this came out earlier in the year, so it's interesting to see it on the Game of the Year nominee list. Is it a worthy nominee, Kudo?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure it's obviously just one of the best, you know, military games out there. They're consistently putting out quality product, and you always know if, like, you get to an end-of-the-year award show like this and something came out that long ago and people still remember it enough that, you know, it's up for Game of the Year, like, yeah, it certainly deserves to be there.
I love the game, but honestly, I think it has no shot at all of winning Game of the Year. What's your take?
Yeah, I can't see it winning Game of the Year.
That's not going to happen, right? Coming up next, we take a look at what breakthrough technology 2006 had to offer. We rock out to Game of the Year nominee Guitar Hero 2, and later we give our picks for the Spike TV VGA 2006 Game of the Year. Watch the Spike 2006 Video Game Awards December 13th at 10 p.m. to find out how you can win a 2007 Pontiac G5 GT. And go to Pontiac.com/Virtual Final Four to pre-register for the Pontiac Virtual NCAA Final Four. The top 4 gamers are flown to the NCAA Championship round to compete at College Hoops 2K7 in front of a live audience for another chance to win a 2007 Pontiac G5 GT.
Rated E for everyone.
You might be asking, why would you, Samuel L. Jackson, host the 2006 Video Game Awards? Well, why not ask why the sun shines and birds sing, huh? No one knows why, but everyone likes it, that's why.
Samuel L. Jackson is back to host Spike's 2006 Video Game Awards with performances by Tenacious D and AFI, appearances by 50 Cent, Tony Hawk, Seth Green, Eva Mendes, Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane, the cast of heroes, and more. Spike's Video Game Awards, December 13th at 10 on Spike.
It's going to be a firestorm of amusement.
Wow, Video Game of the Year? You know, since Guitar Hero 2 has been such a phenomenal hit for the PlayStation 2, I'm going to go with Guitar Hero 2.
I think Gears of War is the out-and-out absolute winner of Game of the Year this year for the VGAs.
Given the Games of the Year, the only one I'll give a little love to is Guitar Hero. And guys, I'd love to see a Guitar Hero on Wii.
Hey, welcome back to Gamehead's VGA Insider Guide to the Spike 2006 Video Game Awards. I'm your host, Jeff Keighley, and joining me once again is my esteemed panel of gaming experts, editorial director of One Up Network, John Davis. And you're not esteemed, Kudo?
I appreciate using that term as liberally as you do.
Hey, come on. And, of course, the executive producer of Fight Night Round 3 and Def Jam Icons, Kudo Sonoda. Now, guys, we're going to talk about another big category here at the VGAs, because this year gamers were treated to the release of 2 new gaming systems, a lighter version of a best-selling innovative handheld, and a marine-based musical experience that may or may not fall under the technical classification of a game. Let's take a look at the nominees for breakthrough technology. All right, well, this is a big category because we got the console wars here. We got, I think it's going to obviously come down to PS3 versus Wii, although maybe Electroplankton will sneak in or something. But John, PS3 versus Wii, which one should win?
I think the Wii.
Really?
Yeah.
Why the Wii? PS3, it's, you know, isn't it the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, it has the bigger, better, more thing down, right. But I think the Wii, I think you've got to admire it for trying something different. I don't know if it's going to work yet, but I think that it's a good step in a new direction for games, definitely.
Right. And, I mean, some people say, you know, the graphics aren't that. I mean, the graphics are no better than a game.
Oh, no. We were playing Excite Truck the other day, and it looks like an Xbox game. That's not why you're buying the Wii. I think it's all about getting that controller into the hands of people that wouldn't normally try a video game, and just bringing them in and making them think about video games as entertainment that they want to be a part of and not being scared of it anymore. I think if they can do that, then all power to them.
Then can Electroplankton beat the PS3?
Hey, you were saying break, you liked it, huh?
What do you think, Kudo? I mean, is it, if you had to pick between what should win in this category, PS3 or Wii?
Yeah, I would say PS3. So, you know, and again, nobody likes gestural controls more than I do. And, like, I think the Wii controller is, like, awesome, and it's a good step forward. You know, but I think it's right. It's which console can do a better job of getting people who aren't used to playing games involved in game content. And I just really think, like, at least on the PS3, you're just going to be able to build a more, like, kind of immersive experience and something that more, like, attaches itself to the emotions of the person playing it as opposed to just kind of the physical activity of the Wii controller. So, like, yeah, I'd say the PS3.
So you're saying that the Wii is kind of, you know, on its face might seem like an easier thing for people to sort of get into because of the simple remote, but you're saying actually the games will be more compelling on PS3, and that's what excites you as a developer?
Yeah, I think it'll be more, you know, be able to create more of a feeling that, like, you're actually inside the game, experiencing the game, versus, like, hey, I'm outside of the TV playing the game, even though you've got the, like, you know, the cool Wii controller. It's just interesting, you know, seeing people play the Wii, how little of it is, like, actually those big motions, like, where you're playing tennis and you're actually, like, looks like you're hitting a tennis ball, versus, like, all the little shortcut commands that you're using, like, you know, in most Wii games. So it'll just be interesting to see how that plays out. I still think you're just going to be able to get a more, like, kind of emotionally immersive experience going on the PS3.
I think the DS, you know, has had a great year in terms of the games, but is DS Lite, is that really breakthrough? It's just sort of a DS with, you know, a brighter screen, right?
I think if there weren't 2 console launches, I think I think it would have been a much more likely winner. Right. Because I think not only did it sort of clean up the DS, it made it more of a fashion accessory as well. And there's something about it now that people see it and just have to have one. Right. And that's really significant for a gaming device.
So you're picking, John, Wii, I would guess, right?
Wii, yeah.
And Kudo's picking PS3.
Yeah, PS3 for sure.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's a really tough category. I think it's one of the best sort of races in the VGAs because, you know, there's sort of totally different systems. But I think, you know, in terms of the real breakthrough technology, I think I'd probably have to go with the PS3 just because of its broader implications longer term. I think it's, you know, a better value. But the Wii, I'm not convinced that it's not gimmicky. It's still a worry of yours, right, John?
Definitely, and I think there's going to be a huge divide between the people that really take advantage of the controller and do that thing where they're bringing people in. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff where you're going to be reading stuff on message boards where people are just like, it's just ridiculous, you know? And I think that, I mean, that's a real fear. I think it's a fear with some of the gestural stuff on the PS3 as well. It's like, if you can't come up with a good idea, just don't do it.
The winner of last year's VGA's Best Soundtrack Award, Guitar Hero proved that not all peripherals are gimmicky throwaways. The sequel, Guitar Hero 2, has avoided the sophomore slump with more songs, bigger artists, and a killer new multiplayer mode that allows for rhythm guitar and bass co-op play. All right, guys, 4 categories this year, big for Guitar Hero 2, but John, is it really that much better than Guitar Hero 1? Looks pretty similar to me.
Oh, it's way better.
Really?
And last year's was good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just for music fans, the way that you can really drill into a song now and the fact that you can do the co-op stuff. You can practice songs, you can like just play a chorus, or you can just play some of the songs. I mean, something like Hangar 18 has, what, 11 solos? Yeah. You can go in and practice just one of them. I mean, it's a lot more fan service, and it's gonna bring people into, you know, wanting to play the guitar.
But Kudo, what's your take on, you know, this being in Game of the Year? 'Cause, I mean, this is up against, you know, Gears of War. And it's great that it's in there, but does it really stand a chance against all these, you know, blockbuster next-gen games?
I mean, we'll see how the voting goes. I just think, like, Guitar Hero, you know, how many people out there, like, have sat at their house before Guitar Hero came out and, like, played air guitar to their favorite songs and stuff, and it just seems like such a natural thing that most people do anyway, and I think that's what they really capture. The big difference between that and the other peripheral games is just, you know, even if you didn't have the guitar, you would be doing that, so it's like getting a game where you can do that and actually have a guitar and be thrashing that out. Like, I don't know, it seems like that was one of the best, like, kind of gameplay feeling experiences that came out during the year, so, like, at least in my mind, it's totally got a good shot. It's just a question of, you know, what the votes are.
When we come back, Kudo's going to be put on the spot to tell us why his game should win the 2006 Spike Video Game Award for Best Individual Sports Game, and later we give our picks for Game of the Year.
What do you think of this new stride?
Ridiculous. Geyser E² lithium. Keep going.
You might be a storm of amusement.
Hey, I'm Kudo Sonoda, the general manager of EA Chicago and executive producer on EA Sports Fight Night Round 3. Why should you vote for Fight Night Round 3 for the best individual sports game of the year? Hey, the first game to deliver photoreal graphics on the Xbox 360, our HUD-less gameplay system defining the way games are played on the next-gen consoles, and of course, the Impact Punch, the most devastating punch seen in any video game or film. You don't vote for EA Sports Fight Night Round 3 for best individual sports game of the year? You're crazy.
Hey, welcome back to Gamehead. I'm Jeff Keighley, and for the past hour, we've been looking at the nominees for the 2006 Spike TV Video Game Awards. Before we get to our picks for Game of the Year, we have one last category to discuss. Game designers and their studios are the brains behind the biggest blockbusters we play every day. The Spike VGA Awards honor these brilliant minds again this year in the category Studio of the Year. Let's take a look at the nominees for this category. Last year, David Jaffe won for God of War. He gave a great acceptance speech. You know, I think people really thought that was the right choice because God of War was such an innovative game last year. What do you think this category should really reward? Who did the most innovative game design? Kudo?
I think, yeah, clearly. I mean, that's what we should be paying off in this category because, like, you know, most of the game, like Game of the Year, you know, definitely will pay off the popularity of each of the games. And, like, I think that's the good thing with the studios is just really trying to find people who aren't, you know, doing, like, knockoffs of other games and are, like, doing something different with game design, something innovative and new. And, like, at least for my vote, that's how I'm voting.
Who do you think, though, then, out of all these, you know, nominees, who delivered the most innovation, John?
It's a tough call. I mean, I was really glad to see that Relic were on there.
Right.
because the real-time, I mean, for a start, they're very PC-centric, and nearly everything else in these awards is very console. But what they've done is they've taken a genre that I think a lot of people had felt was played out, and reinvigorated it. I mean, they did it with Company Heroes, and they've been doing it with Dawn of War, and I think they've really put that genre back into the spotlight in gaming. And then the other one, I think that I mean, and now because they don't exist anymore, and they have a game that I think we all felt was, you know, going to do really well, is Clover. I mean,
got to raise our lighters for Clover, right?
Definitely.
What happened there, do you think? I mean, it's like, you know, obviously a great game, and it's like the studio disappears. Is that a bad thing for the business that you see this, you know, nominated studio disband, Kudo?
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see any kind of studio go under like that, especially one that's doing such new and innovative work. It just goes to show you it's so hard to make a game that is totally different and yet still accepted by kind of mainstream consumers as something they want to go out and buy.
All right, well, let's discuss what your picks would be in this category, then.
Yeah, so not meaning to foreshadow my Game of the Year pick too much, but I'm going with Harmonix on Guitar Hero. So it's like, you know, just if somebody had come down and said, hey, we want you to make a game based on, like, you know, playing guitar and have it just, you know, so little marketing and just kind of the actual fun of the gameplay really shining through, and, you know, the word of mouth and that generating huge sales. Yeah, I've got to give it up for that.
John, you agree, or what's your pick?
I think I'd like to see Clover win this one, because I don't think they have a shot at any of the other categories they're in, realistically. And they need some love, and they need, I think it's well deserved.
I sort of agree with you, Kudo. I think, you know, Guitar Hero 2 to me is the one that, you know, really deserves. I don't know how many other categories it's really going to win, but I mean, in terms, you know, there's not a category for best innovation or anything like that in game design, so I think this might be the category reserved for that. But John, why didn't you pick Guitar Hero 2? You think the other ones are just more innovative?
No, because I do think Guitar Hero 2 has a shot at Game of the Year.
All right, well, speaking of Game of the Year, the time has come to discuss each of the nominees for the 2006 Video Game Awards Game of the Year. Here's a quick recap of who's up for the big prize. This is the debate everyone's been waiting for, Game of the Year. Who's going to take the prize? Now, what's interesting is that 4 out of the 5 games in this category are also nominated for Best Graphics, with Guitar Hero 2 being the obvious exception. Does that mean that graphics make the game, John?
I wouldn't have said so, but apparently.
Well, it's interesting. I think it's like, you know, you have obviously some really great next-gen games in there. And I think, you know, but all these games also have, you know, great graphics, but also great gameplay, right, Kudo?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be, you know, as we get farther along in the console cycle, it's going to be the games that are really able to, like, not only generate great graphics, but then tie them back into the gameplay and really pay off, like, you know, the actual kind of game that they're developing. With the graphics are going to be the ones that do well. But, you know, early on in the console cycle, obviously everybody wants the graphical showpiece that shows off their console, you know, in the best way possible. But, yeah, I'd still be voting for the one with the best gameplay, regardless of where the graphics are at.
All right, so if I got to put you on the spot here, Kudo, and you got to put some money on the table, say what you think. What do you think is going to win and what should win this year for Game of the Year?
Yeah, so I mean, what do I think is going to win? I think it's going to be Gears of War. Like, I just think that's got the big, you know, flashy showpiece. Everyone's like recent, came out, you know, just now. Everyone's really buzzing about it. And so if it's going to be by voting, I think it would be Gears of War. But again, I go back to, you know, it's not all about the graphics. It's about the gameplay and people who are really innovating within the gaming space. And so, yeah, if I had my druthers, and my vote certainly is going for Guitar Hero 2.
Yep. Excellent. All right, John?
I don't need to say anything, man.
Really? You agree?
That's, yeah, exactly what I'm thinking.
I sort of agree, too. That's my thing. I think, you know, Gears of War has, you know, a lot of momentum. That's the sexy choice, right? Because it's, you know, Xbox 360, it's new, it's next gen, and of course we all want to see Cliffy be
the obvious choice. I think, you know, when they open the envelope or whatever Samuel's going to do, I think if he says Gears of War, everyone's going to go, yeah, of course.
Maybe there'll be a Crash-like surprise here. I mean, what would be this? Would Guitar Hero 2 be the real sort of surprise winner that's deserved?
If that won, the place would go mental.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it does deserve it. It deserves the recognition.
All right, we'll see what you guys pick, because that's it for the 2006 Gamehead VGA Insider Guide. I want to thank Kudo Sonoda, John Davison, and of course Emmanuel Vaugier for visiting us. And for a complete list of all our picks, and if you want to check out all the nominees, you can go to spiketv.com. And remember to tune into the Video Game Awards, which are Wednesday, December 13th at 10 p.m., hosted by Samuel L. Jackson, with performances like AFI and more, with the likes of 50 Cent, Yellow Card, and Tony Hawk. It's the show you don't want to miss. Gamehead's 2006 VGA Insider Guide will be available tomorrow on SpikeTV.com for your viewing pleasure. If there was an awards show for Video Game Awards Show Insider Guide, it would totally be nominated.
You might be asking, why would you, Samuel L. Jackson, host the 2006 Video Game Awards? Well, why not ask why the sun shines and birds sing, huh? No one knows why, but everyone likes it, that's why.
Samuel L. Jackson is back to host Spike's 2006 Video Game Awards with performances by Tenacious D and AFI, appearances by 50 Cent, Tony Hawk, Seth Green, Eva Mendes, Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane, the cast of heroes, and more. Spike's Video Game Awards, December 13th at 10 on Spike.
It's gonna be a firestorm of amusement.